Hi, Darren Lyle here. In this video, I'm going to be working on creating an AM radio for a 1952 Nash-Healey Roadster. So how would we begin with something like this? Well, it looks like it's just kind of a plane like we did before, and then extrusions for the dial part and the button part. So let's give that a try. I think I'll just maybe select these two right here, and I'll hit the period key to zoom in. And I'll go back to the Move tool, and here in that pivot point, let's move the 3D cursor, Shift S2, and then let's just create a polygon plane, Shift A, Mesh Plane, and I'll take it down to, let's take it down to 0.02, and that's a little small, but that's okay. We can scale it up a bit, and then let's turn it in the x-axis, RX 9, looks like it's going in the wrong direction. I'll press 0 and then hit the minus key to flip it around. There we go. And now let's hide the car right here. Let's press Control 1 and let's get this plane in about the right size. So maybe if I scale down in the Z and let's scale out in the X. About like that. So let's say that's about the size that we want. Maybe a little bit bigger all the way around. There we go. Let's try that. And then what I'd like to do is just add an edge loop here. I'll tab into edit mode, Control R, and let's just add an edge loop. And I'm just going to pull it out just a little bit like this, just to get this kind of angle here. And then once I do that, I think I'll bevel that with Control B and just pull that apart just a little bit like that, because something kind of like that there. Now we could select the edges all the way around. Actually, let's hit the 2 key and press Alt click. And so let's just get the edges all the way around. And then let's extrude back. I'll hit EY and let's just pull that back like that. And then I'll just hit the A key and let's pull this into that panel there. Let's now grab this face up here. Let's hit the I key to inset it. Just a little bit like that. And then let's extrude that in. E, and I'll just push that in until it comes in right. I don't want to go all the way in like that. I'm just a little bit like that, I think. And then also let's extrude in on the bottom right here, but first let's inset it as well. So I'm going to press Control 1 so I can see it from the front and hit the I key and just kind of pull in about the same amount as I did before. And then let's extrude in the Y axis, EY. I'll just push straight back like that. And we could probably bring it back in like this. So let's go ahead and add a subdivision surface modifier and see how it works. I may want to make the edges a little bit thicker here while I'm here. Let me press Alt and click between two of those faces. And I think what I'm going to do is just press S and X and scale out a little bit. And I'll just press S and Z and scale out just a little bit, just to make those sides a little bit thicker like that. Okay, so now let's add that subdivision surface modifier here. Yikes. And let's smooth it. And I will turn the cage off for a moment to come in here and take a look at what needs to be done. So let's maybe add 3 here and scale out in the X, S and X. And maybe I'll start adding them up in here and up in here. This and like this. I just want them kind of a little more rounded is all. Actually, that's not too bad. Let's go with that. Maybe I will add an extra edge loop right in here and bring that in just a little bit like that. And let's do that same thing down here. And let's add one in here too. I'm going to add just another one just to grab that edge so it's a little bit tighter around there. Let's now add the buttons. And for the buttons there, let's just begin with the cube. And it's very big, so let's take it down to, instead of 2 meters, how about 0.02? Try that. That's a little bit better. Let's do that. I'm going to take the face off of the back here, just delete faces there. And then let's just try and put this in place, and we'll use the array modifier to add the others here because it looks like there are 5. So I'll scale that in just a bit. Let's scale it in the Z a smidge. Let's move it back in here like this. Hit the period key on the numpad to frame it up. And I feel like I could just take this and move it out some. And it kind of looks to me like it expands in the back. Let's see if that's the way we want it to be. I feel like it kind of expands like this. I could be wrong, but let's try it like that. And then let's go ahead and add our subdivision surface edges there before we turn that on here, because we've got the nice rounded curves here. We want to capture that. And so from this, it's a little bit tighter, isn't it? So let's press S and Z and then select these two, S and X, and scale those out just a little bit. We can bring this one forward, hit G 2 times and bring that forward some. So yeah, it kind of tightens that up a little bit more. And we can bring them back. And let's see about how big we want to do this. So with this here, let's go ahead and add an array modifier. It looks like, I'm going to bring this up some. Down here we need 5, right? We need to go in the negative X, so I'll click and drag on this like that. We also probably need this to be smaller, so I'm just going to hit the S key and scale that in just a little bit. Bring it over. Looks like we could scale down just a little bit more, about like that, and move this over to here. Let's try that. Well, now we're not getting that expansion on the back there now that we've pushed that in so much. Maybe I'll pull it out just a little bit more. Let's tab into edit mode, and I kind of want to take these two and move them forward a bit like this. Let's try that. There we go. And once we add some basic materials, we can then find an image texture for the AM radio dial. We'll UV map just this portion here, and we'll map that texture onto those faces. So let's give that a try. I'm going to go over to the UV editing tab here first. And I think what I want to do first of all is just hover over here and click and drag down in the corner to create a new window. And I want to change this from a UV editor to a shader editor, just so we can see our node tree up in here as we do this. So let's go in and let's find those faces of the radio right in here. I'm going to move this down and let's tab into edit mode and just select these faces here. And it looks like maybe I want to expand it out one more with Control Numpad Plus to there. Now I want to UV map this because we're going to place our texture over the UV map, or actually more specifically the way we're going to do it for these particular textures is we're going to place our UV over the textures. So let's go ahead and UV map this. I'm going to press the U key with these selected, and we can just choose unwrap. And let's see how it looks. Yeah, that's not bad. Let me hit the A key and I'll press R90 and hit the minus key to spin it around and hit enter. So there, I believe, is how we want our UV map. Now, it's a little bit warped because of the subdivisions. And what we could do is we could just take something like this. We could go and select this and control click this, and then we could just press SX0 and straighten it out, and then hit G and X and pull it out like that. Hit S and Y and kind of scale it up like that. So we can just begin to kind of make this a little more uniform. So maybe over here I'll press SX0 and then scale up in the Y, SY, like this, and move this out. So we can go through and just do this a couple times. So maybe here, SY0, and up here, oh, I'll just click here to here, SY0. So I'm just going through and kind of straightening these up a bit, that's all. And I'll get these here with SY0. And maybe we could do the same with these here. So I'm just going through and hitting SX0, SY0 to straighten these up. There we go. Now let's go find that texture that we want to use for this. And I've added a few to the reference images folder, and let's go take a look at them. I'm going to press Shift A, and I'm going to bring in an image texture here and drop that here. And let's click Open, and let's go browse to that reference folder, photos, and I've got a couple of images here. I've got one here. I think this one may be the best one. Let's go ahead and open this up and see what we can do with this. All right, so if we want to be able to see it here and see how much we need to adjust our UVs, what we can do is just hook this up with the color socket to the base color. And then let's go over to our material preview here, and we can see it there. The problem we have right now is that this whole thing is being applied to all of that object, all of the chrome, right? And we don't want that. So let's unhook this, and we need to create a material just for this selection of polygons. So let's come over here to the materials panel, and let's create a new material slot. Let's call this, let's call them AM radio. And let's click Assign. All right, so now whatever we feed into this material now, this AM radio, will only appear on these faces. So let's try that again. Image, texture, open. Let's go to that image here and click Open Image. Now if we take this and connect it to the base color, now it only affects those selected faces that we assigned to this material slot. All right, so what I'm going to do is just hit the A key to select all of these UVs and scale these in a bit in the X. Maybe move it up in the Y a bit. Scale it in the Y, SY. Just try and get it to fit in here. So all we see are those numbers. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, so we've got our numbers there in the AM radio. What we could also do is change the color a bit. Let's try and make that a little more black. So what we can do is just take this image texture and move it over. And we can add a node here that will allow us to control some of the colors. So let's press Shift A, go to Color, and let's use RGB curves. And let's just drop that right in there. It'll automatically hook it up. And then we can just create a node right here by clicking, and then we can drag it up like this. It makes it too bright. We can drag it down like that. And yeah, that kind of helps right there. Now we can also maybe take some of the blue out by selecting the blue tab here, creating a node and bringing that blue up like this. No, let's bring it down like this. There we go. Yeah, now that takes some of that blue out of there. There we go. So now we have an AM radio. If you'd like to learn more about creating this car, then check out my course, Blender 3.0 Vintage Car Creation. You can find it on Udemy, Skillshare, LinkedIn Learning. Check out the links below. Well, thanks for watching, and take care.